Good morning. Welcome to the News Hub. I'm Rolf Winkler. Breaking news this morning. Egyptian judiciary officials say that deposed President Hosni Mubarak could be freed from custody this week. Meanwhile, the long-standing relationship between the U.S. and Egypt may be in peril as Egypt's military-led government has said it is now reviewing the relationship. Jerry Seib is Wall Street Journal's Washington bureau chief. He joins us right now. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning.
So first off, this Mubarak news, what's happening?
Well, what's happened is that a court today moved to drop some corruption charges against the former president. He had previously been cleared of charges for killing protesters or ordering the killing of protesters during the Arab Spring and some other corruption charges. There's still one more charge pending against him, but the indications out of Cairo this morning are that given what the court did today, he's likely to be released sometime this week. I don't think he necessarily plays in the power struggle that's underway now directly, but this is going to be seen as another sign by the Muslim Brotherhood that the army is basically reasserting control. Former President Mubarak was a general before he became president, closely identified with the military. And it'll probably be read as another sign that the army that's now basically leading Egypt is trying to roll back all the changes of the Arab Spring 2 years ago. So it's going to be a bit incendiary, I suspect.
Okay, moving on. What do they mean? The military, speaking of the military, government has said that it is reviewing, quote, its relationship with the United States. What's that about?
Well, there are a lot of strains in the relationship right now. The Obama administration has tried to play this delicately, has tried to balance the two competing claims that it's dealing with right now regarding the situation in Egypt. On the one hand, there's an impulse, particularly fed by Saudi Arabia and Israel, our other allies in the region, to keep lines of communication open with the military. And one way to do that is to continue the U.S. aid relationship. The U.S. provides about $1.5 billion, most of that in military aid. So President Obama has not cut off that aid. On the other hand, he's under a lot of pressure, particularly from Capitol Hill, which increased over the weekend after the massacre that occurred in Cairo in the last several days, to go ahead and cut off that aid as a sign to the military leaders who are now calling the shots in Cairo that we're not happy about that. I think that the latter part of that is what the military leaders are hearing, that they're being criticized from Washington, that the aid package is in jeopardy. And I think what they're saying is essentially, look, maybe we don't need your aid anymore anyway. We're going to do what we need to do. We're tired of criticism from outside, and particularly from the U.S., but not only from the U.S., also from Europe. The EU is considering whether it's going to suspend aid to Egypt as well. And I think what the military leaders in Cairo are saying is, look, we've got other options. Our Arab friends, particularly the Saudis, are willing to step up with a lot of money. And by the way, there are other places to buy arms around the world. You know, the Egyptians, before Anwar Sadat's era, had a long-standing military relationship with the Soviet Union. I'm quite sure there are Russian military industries that are more than happy to sell weapons to Egypt. So I think this is kind of a warning shot to the U.S. that we have other options here. We're not going to rely on you.
Speaking of bedrock policies that kind of keep the Middle East from falling apart, there's also the peace treaty with Israel. Yeah. What's the status of that relationship?
Well, oddly, that relationship is probably more solid than it was a few weeks ago. I mean, the military does not want to destabilize border with Israel. They've actually shored up cooperation with Israel since they've gotten rid of Mohammed Morsi, the Muslim Brotherhood president who was deposed. They're cooperating with Israel in going after Islamic extremists who are kind of roaming around on the Sinai, that kind of no man's land between Israel and Egypt. And the Israeli government is basically calling on the U.S. to maintain ties with the military government. They consider that government to be kind of an island of stability in an otherwise raucous Egypt. So the Israel-Egyptian relationship is oddly moving in the right direction, at least as far as relations with the military leaders go.
Okay, Jerry Seib, Washington bureau chief, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Happy to be with you.